Richard Grove is with us. Rich Grove, great having you. You're doing a great. I mean, our listeners are eating this up. They want us to. I think they want us to go and into more boundary breaking information. But I think we're doing that. I want to pick up. We'll go because they're asking us on the chat room about CERN, about aliens, Babylon mysteries. I'm happy to go there. But
how about I'll just handle those real 20 seconds.
Go for it.
CERN, there's a bunch of smart people with a whole bunch of funding doing things that nobody on this broadcast understands. So I would check that out. Aliens, I haven't seen any evidence of it. So let's keep going to what was the last one?
CERN, they're creating a black hole for the environment on Earth. That is, I think, one of their main trajectories. We don't know how that's going to work out, but let's go for it. I'll add that to it. We left off at covert colonization, and that is, and I don't know if it came in as long ago as you said it did or when it came in, but they realized at one point, and we look at Gandhi and India, maybe one of the examples, we can't hold it. It's like the game Risk. We can't hold all these territories physically, and it kind of brings us back to Brave New World Revisited, where he compares, that is Aldous Huxley compares his work in Brave New World, where they got to drug you and you got to love your slavery in order to be a part of this, and they've got to bamboozle you and trick you into this. They can't force you into it as they did in 1984, in the book 1984 by Eric Blair. I got to say, covert colonization working out okay until we were allowed and we found a good device such as the internet or this radio show or your website to start communicating to each other, with open minds, and that has been a major chink in the armor.
Well, I think your description of 1984, which is a dystopian, warning from Orwell, as compared to Brave New World, which is a utopian use of things like soma, and it's still taking people away from their free will. So whether it's a utopia or a dystopia, neither one of those really serves you as an individual. What we kind of need is a libertopia, where people learn to be autonomous, how to think critically through a system that having a system enables you to easily communicate with other people who have a similar translator, i.e. a system of critical thinking. The problem is we can go out there and make a lot of sense and identify all the fallacies being used to trick people, but until we educate our audience on how to understand what we're saying, how to identify these fallacies, and fallacies, to summarize it really quickly, it comes from deception in Latin. So it's a cunning way to trick you using words. And that's what most of the politicians that you see in office, that's how they got there. That's how the lobbyists get their work done and make people think that they're good for you. They have nothing to do with you other than to try to take advantage of your ignorance, to take your hard-earned money, and to carry out their international plans. Their plans are not to have the United States existing in a couple of years. Their plan is global government. And while we might want to all be sovereign, their plan is to take away our freedom. Their plan is to have a one world government where everyone's on lockdown. Whereas I think, a libertopia would be a world of sovereign individuals where we can travel freely and do what we want in the world as long as we don't infringe on anyone else's rights. But that's never going to happen as long as we have a cartel who has the British royal government pimp their gemstones. When you can have the British royal government put away their emeralds and rubies and sapphires and wear diamonds and start, pushing diamonds are a girl's best friend and diamonds are forever, that should tell you something. When that cartel is not allowed to operate in the United States and diamond dealers have to go to London to get their gemstones, that should tell you something. When everyone we know, a family event, whether it's anniversary or engagement or any of these other things, baptisms, are encouraged to get diamonds, and we all think that's a good idea. Where did we get those ideas? This is where critical thinking can really start. And if the people in the chat room want something that's incendiary to learn about, start Googling and watching and learning about the diamond trade and the diamond cartel that has existed untouched for the last 100 years. And that is the power of the Council on Foreign Relations and the Rhodes Roundtable.
Again, and you can go into that, and you can see Cecil Rhodes' influence, a Rhodes scholar, Rachel Maddow, talking down to us, calling us racist, planning bombs, and then and that in one sentence, and then in the next sentence, almost praising George W. Bush for pulling back and being more nice about the debate. I mean, we talked about this in the first hour with Peter A. Bear, Jefferson versus Hamilton. That wasn't a nice debate, okay? That doesn't have to be a nice debate. So we take Cecil Rhodes. We end up at Rachel Maddow, who is a Rhodes Scholar, of course, and they're everywhere, folks. And not to say that anyone who's a Rhodes Scholar is bad or a Freemason is bad, but that you should be a little suspicious. And then we go to CGI, which is an interesting acronym because that is computer generated, but it also stands for Clinton Global Initiative, which is full of roundtable group overseers. I have to believe that it is the next stage of the Bilderberg Group. In fact, going back to McCain, when the big crisis hit, the financial crisis, he said, I got to suspend my campaign. He's a Republican. I've got to go back to meet with the Clinton Global Initiative almost to take my orders. And yet this is sliding by under the radar, Rich.
The sooner that we realize that the people who we call our representatives in government are actually well-paid actors, and they're going from scripts. George W. Bush was an actor. He played a good role. He convinced us all that he was dumb and there's nothing going on but his dumbness. And meanwhile, he set up the whole Obama administration, and Obama's administration has hit this fraud-taking scheme, economic freebasing, without missing a step. I mean, it's obvious that no matter whether it's Republican or Democrat, it's a right foot, left foot. There's a torso above it, above this liquid layer that they show you on TV. And that is made out of these cartels in this roundtable and the Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Bilderberg Group, all these elite working groups that are actually controlling everyone who's listening to this broadcast, whether they like it or not. But let's learn our way out of it.
Yeah, you may not like it. Sometimes the medicine doesn't taste very good. Richard Andrew Grove, again, tragedyandhope.com. Go look at this great site they put together. It's not like anything else you've seen, so just go check it out. And again, it's interactive. It's a Facebook without CIA, and it's fun to be over there. The new series, What You've Been Missing, Exposing the Noble Lie. I hear I'm in part 2. But let me say this. You brought up 2 really fun words. Libertopia. The first rule of Libertopia, there is no utopia, and economic freebasing. So thank you very much for adding that to the Deadline Live lexicon.
Hey, no problem. I will admit that I took economic freebasing from Robin Williams, but I figured he was only using it once, and I could use that word, that phrase every day. So,
well, we should all be using it, and I think,
recycle.
Drunken sailors is, will you give a blank check to a drunk and send them into a bar? Because that's kind of what we've been doing. And I'm sorry I didn't buy into the whole Tea Party. In the beginning when we were the Tea Party, certainly I did. But, the whole what ended up as the Tea Party and this new, quote-unquote, Newt Gingrich Part 2 revolution with O'Boner in charge of it, the new power couple in Washington, D.C. I wish I could buy into it. I'd love to be on that bandwagon like the Obama bandwagon and so many others, but it ain't flying. It can't get off the ground. Even the Wright brothers laugh in its face.
Well, one might try learning about dynamics of groupthink, because when a bunch of people get into a group, they stop thinking for each other and they start listening to a leader. And that's exactly how groups like the Tea Party, which started out as a legitimate, grassroots, independent, concerned group of people, and it gets usurped because they see it's a powerful threat, and they bring in, and all of a sudden, everyone in America thinks it's created by Palin, right? So. Right.
Well, we're going now. We skipped that because what's after T? We're skipping the U party. I thought that would be a good place to go next. We're going right to the V party, baby. That's the next movement that they'll try to usurp, and we'll get there eventually. Richard, we've only got here about a minute or so for you. I did want to ask you about brain software, but take us anywhere you want to go. peacerevolution.org, tragedyandhope.com. Richard Andrew Grove, great stuff. I got a minute for you. Put anything on the record you like.
Right on. So if you don't want to even take the time to check out what you've been missing, please just check out the notes that are usually embedded right below the video anywhere it's embedded. There in the notes, you're going to find all the information we're really trying to point you toward that can open your mind up to these new topics. And as far as the brain software, it's a software where I take individual subjects and show you how they're connected together so that you can form an understanding and learn to explore on your own. So it's completely open. Links are in the notes, tragedyandhope.com and peacerevolution.org.
Attaboy. Well, I appreciate your time and sharing the thought process with it, and I look forward to more of your work, and I always love having you on, so anytime you want to come, you got it, man. There it is. Richard Andrew Grove, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jack. Thank you, everyone.
For thousands of years, the few have used knowledge as power to control the many and profit from their ignorance. Over hundreds of generations, the masses have outsourced their thinking and unquestioningly consumed products of deception. Today, as a result, the non-elected rulers continue to persuade us to adopt their limited perspectives. This series resurrects your curiosity and broadens your awareness so you can learn how to read between the lies. This is what you've been missing.
The goal of this series is to provide you with the tools to understand the world in which we all live, so we can learn to survive and thrive in life. Greetings and welcome. I'm your host, Richard Grove, and I'd like to begin by employing metaphor, using this box to represent the status quo, so as to illustrate that this series was created to present you with the myriad of media which describes the world from the outside of this box, whereupon we criticize and review it, like this. What you've been missing is an educational exploration designed to stimulate you and your potential, to resurrect your curiosity, and to inspire you to think critically so your decision-making and realization of enjoyment in life goes off the charts. Submitted for your approval, this is the episode pilot of What You've Been Missing, titled Exposing the Noble Lie. We've got a lot to catch up on, and here's why. Our research over the past 7 years has uncovered the following 3 facts. 1. That the systematic form of critical thinking upon which the Western world was built was taken out of our education system in the 19th century. 2. As a consequence of our education system being censored, those of us born in the 20th century were easily shaped, conditioned, and manipulated by sophisticated forms of propaganda and public relations, leaving us in a world based on illusions of knowledge and not actually knowledge itself. And 3, as a consequence of points 1 and 2, those of us inhabiting the 21st century are faced with problems that seem to be unsolvable and pressures and responsibilities for which we are not educated to be successful at resolving.
There is a curse on mankind. It is a curse so well known that we never talk about it, we never discuss it. It is a curse that says that you and yours will never rise. Your grandchildren are serfs, their grandchildren will be serfs. You are a shoemaker, your grandchildren will be shoemakers. And my heel will always be on your neck. Until America said, now wait a minute. If you're lucky, if you've got guts, if you can take the crap that life throws at you, if you can get here, you might rise.
Hey, Mr. Pants. Come on in, Mr. Pants. Pants. It's hard to say why that particular bullet was shot, but you know, it's a neighborhood where a lot of things are changing, where a lot of people are upset, where people have been pushed out of their homes by real estate value, not being able to pay the taxes, whatever else. You know, I've tried to think about it. I've tried to think about if I were out there and someone else were in here, what would cause me to be resentful or envious.
The south side of Chicago is one of the poorest inner city communities in America. But now rich people are moving in and creating some serious changes in the neighborhood.
What used to be housing projects are suddenly condos, and you wonder what impact you're having on the city and who lives here, who can afford to live here. Three big tools have been used in a lot of areas. First, you build a big police station. Secondly, you tear out all the basketball courts. And lastly, if there's a local public school that poor people attend, you tear down the school.
This land is worth more than what the niggas over here can give them. So What can you do with them? Displace them, and the ones that you don't want over here, you get rid of. You get rid of. You know, and what you use as an excuse.